time was most valuable when I looked at like our education system and how we were programmed. Like, and I don't know where it came from or who came up with the 40-40-40 plan. Like, uh, go work 40 hours a week for 40 years and then retire on 40% of the income, right? And I was like, wow, 40 years, 40 hours, 40% of the income. And it was like, okay, so I can make $1 million in 50 years if I made $25,000 a year. I could make it in 25 years if I made double that, right? Or I found out that people were making $1 million in a year.
Right.
Then there was a point I found out there was people making $1 million in a month. And then I saw somebody in our circle making $1 million in a day. And I was like, wow, time is really the more valuable commodity. You know, they told us that getting, like, I remember people used to say, man, getting rich quick is a scheme. I found out the real scheme is staying broke the rest of your life is the real scheme. And when people say getting rich is a scam, I realize, Sabrina, they're still confused about money. That's the real scam. They're still confused about money.
That's the truth, because we are we are in the same mentorship group, and people post their receipts. This isn't, about just claiming your way to fame. This is people posting receipts like, hey, I did an event today. I made $100,000, $200,000. So I want people to have the skills to make six figures a year and up. But there are many, 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 many people who are doing six figures in a month, in a week, in a weekend, in a day. And seeing that really expands your mind. So one of our mentors always points out that the real benefit to being in a mentorship is the people you're in the room with. So can you speak a little bit into, because you said you've been in a lot of mentorships, but how has being in those rooms really propelled you?
Let me tell you, being in the rooms, I think environment plays a huge impact. I remember I heard somebody talk about a fish can only grow to the size of the tank it's in. And so if you got a fish in a little goldfish sized tank, it can only grow to the size of that tank. But if you put it in an aquarium, it grows to the size of the aquarium. If you put that fish in the ocean, it has the whole ocean to grow into. Me getting in those environments allow me to stretch beyond, the confines of my environment. I remember, I don't know if you remember back in the 90s, it used to be an ongoing thing that people say, look, I don't want to take the SATs because they are culturally biased. Well, getting in those rooms helped me to understand the cultural bias, right? Because you don't see what's there in life based on what you see. You see based on what you're programmed to see, right? Meaning, like, I couldn't take a SAT because I didn't know what a foyer was because I grew up in a 16-story high-rise building. We had a lobby. We didn't have a foyer. And so when you read those SAT questions, and so when you talk about money, business, and success, we don't know because I didn't grow up in those rooms, in those environments. Most of the deals are happening on the country club or at the golf course. Well, in these masterminds, they now become our country club. They now become our golf course when you get in those type of rooms and you begin to stretch. And what I learned, until you change the way you see a thing, the thing that you're looking at will never change. Let me say that again. I got to say it twice. Until you change the way you look at a thing, the thing you're looking at will never change. And you will meet people with different perspectives, different upbringings, and have different life experiences that they begin to show you things in a way that you never looked. So it's all about perspective, right? And you begin to build. Here's another benefit too, is you can now establish partnerships, right? Now you'll find somebody in the room who has something that's in synergy with what you're doing, and now you can partner together and build a whole secondary business from being in that room. And you don't have to convince them. You know that because they invested like you invested, that they are thinking the same way and they believe and they have some of the same principles that you have. 3, you gain exposure from having access to even some of their audiences and being on some of their platforms. As a result, people hear your story and like you, they want to interview you, they want to talk to you, and they want to expose you to those audiences. So then I get to grow based on all the people you know. You get to grow based on all the people I know, because now we cross pollinate our audiences on our platforms. And so the benefits are so numerous just from being in the room. Most people just don't, most people get in too just to say they in, and some of the people don't show up. And so you got to show up.
Yeah.
The only place that success comes before work, I think, is in the dictionary, right? Most people, they see the glamour and all of that, but they got to recognize that it still takes work. Like you hear people say it got to work or it got to work, but I think people miss the work. Like no activity, no results. You got to have actionable steps. Like it's not what you know that makes you who you are. It's what you do with what you know. And so you got to take action and you got to execute on the information. Outside of personal chefing, I'm also in politics. I'm also a father. I'm also a husband. And it's also been a lot of those type of hats that has helped me be very successful.